also coastal ecosystems and ocean processes. So this emphasizes the need to monitor and understand freshwater systems better. Go to the next slide. So in Kenya specifically, water stress is driven by urbanization, land use changes, and demographic growth. This is the increase in population. So in Riverview subcatchment in Kiambu County is one of the vulnerable watersheds, as studied by the research done by the government of Kenya, that is 2018, and Waivaka, 2019, Wambugu, 2018. So they have documented the increasing degradation of this watershed. So therefore, this calls for careful assessment and sustainable management strategies to secure the basin's future or the watershed future. So there are two primary objectives that I was looking at for this presentation. That one of them was to analyze historical trends in stream discharge in the Riverview subcatchment from 2006 to 2016. I kept it at 2016 because that was when the available data was ending at. So there was no data available from that period 2016 to 2024, which gives us a gap. So the second one was to identify or to quantify the significance and rate of any observed changes in inflow. So the goal was to understand whether discharge is decreasing and what this means for water security generally. So the slide that is on now is giving the description of the study area. So Riverview is located in Kiambu County, as I stated before. It stretches 40 kilometers from its source in Katamari Forest, that is the length of Riverview, and it strains into Ashe River. Yeah? It has a mean gradient of 0.057 and a drainage area of approximately 400 square kilometers. It is an important freshwater source for both domestic and agricultural use. So this area has experienced intense urbanization and environmental stress in the recent years. So the methodology I used, I adopted a descriptive quantitative abstract design. So this was just to show the numbers and how they are changing, so to give a description of what's happening. So the data was obtained from Water Resource Authority for the years 2006 to 2016. So before any analysis was done, there were data quality checks that were performed to identify and address any missing values or any anomalies that were existing in the data. And then after that was done, a trend analysis was conducted using Mandela test, and the sense loss estimator was used to quantify the rate of change. So the results from the data quality that assessment I did, it revealed that there was some missing values. The data was in monthly time set, so there were some missing values, and this accounted for 1.3% of the entire period. So a chi-square test confirmed that there were no clustering or missing data. So there was no bias introduced. So I used Turkey method to identify the 4 potential outliers. Then upon further inspection, I found out that 2 were legitimate extreme flow events rather than errors, and so we retained them for analysis and we discarded the other 2 that were not a part of the extreme flow event. So the result from the extreme flow trend shows that there's a significant decline in trend in the stream discharge with a p-value less than 0.05, that is 0.086. Then the spend slope estimator indicated an annual decrease of 0.0502 cubic meters per second, which suggests that this is a measurable and concerning reduction in stream flow over a period of 10 years only. Yeah, if that is the the trend to date then probably is not a lot. So just to put a context on the anomalies that I got during the data preparation, it showed that the year 2011, 2012, there was a extremely high distance, and this coincided with the intense urban development. We know the Thika superhighway, yeah. It was completed by that period, around that period, and there were also severe drought conditions that were reported by various agencies such as the African Development Bank and the Disaster Emergency Committee, which raised a red flag that that period had some drought, and therefore that could have been part of the reason why we had anomalies during that period. And also, during the same period was the launch of Data City. Yeah, so it was launched around that period. So this highlights how both anthropogenic and climatic factors can contribute to hydrological stress. So let's go to the implications of findings. So the declining discharge poses several risks. One of them being reduced water availability for domestic and farming users. It can also result to degradation of riparian and aquatic ecosystems. Sorry? Okay. So another risk is increased reliance on groundwater, which is the next best alternative that people may go for, which may not be sustainable because of issues of recharge and all that. Then these findings underscore the urgency of adopting integrated watershed management practices. There's a need to actually adopt working practices that are integrated and can well with the water. So the conclusions that the study got is that the river wheel subcatchment has experienced a statistically significant decline in stream discharge. The drivers are pointing at human activities, especially land use changes and climatic variability. And therefore, we recommend that we can enhance hydrological monitoring systems, because this is one of the reasons why we do not have data sets since 2024. Yet, from 2006 to 2016, we've seen a decrease. So, if we can't know how much or what's happening in the present, then that poses a greater risk to humanity. Then we also encourage sustainable urban development, being that Kiambu County is growing and it is one of the satellite counties of Nairobi. Many people opt to live in Kiambu, and so you see the population is growing. There are many structures coming up, and some of them are not sustainable. Then three, we need to promote climatic or climate adaptation strategies that are tailored to local conditions. Because we've seen, because of the droughts, the frequent droughts, and extreme rainfall events, we see there's a time when we have a lot of discharge, then it goes to waste, there's a lot of runoff and all that. So if we do not adopt climate strategies that are tailored to the local conditions, then we will be missing out. So now I'll just show the differences that I used to come up with this.
Okay, that's okay with time. Thank you, Paul.
And I would like to thank you all for listening.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation on stream discharge for, is it Ruiru River? Any question from online? Anybody with a question? Anybody with a question for Paul? Okay, here the members with us here physically. Anybody with a question? None. Okay, Paul, I've seen one of your conclusion is that the stream discharge has been reducing in the last 10 years.
Yes.
What are some of the things that are being done to reverse the trend at the moment? Because I think that could threaten the livelihood and the economic activities around Kiambu, if I may be right, although I'm not an expert in this area.
Okay. So now, of course, the damage has happened. So now we need to reverse the trend, and this can be done by having a watershed management plan, which can try and incorporate sustainable urban development in the various catchment areas for these rivers. Because we find that this river comes all the way from the Tamai, which is up there, in Aberdare, in this side of the Aberdare. And so we see that if the catchment is altered in any way, then that means it comes all the way down. So if we can have small community-based organizations that can be able to handle that, with the directorship of the Kenya Forest Service, Kenya Wildlife Services, and the Water Resources Authority, I think that can be able to address the issue and probably, if not fully reverse the damage that is happening, because I believe they will not bring down the structures that have been put up. But then as we progress on, so that we can adopt strategies that can be able to accommodate development, yes, but not at the expense of rivers and the water resources. Things to do with green spaces around the structures. For example, you can have areas that are not paved so that the water can actually seep down through. Yeah. So maybe, I believe the impervious surface is what is causing more of runoff, which is not sustainable over time.
Thank you so much, Paul, for that insight. Pass our greetings to KU from Rongo University. Thank you so much. Let's move to, is Uching David Calvin's around to present? David Calvin's. Okay, Daniel Ondu, I think you should be ready by now. Daniel? Yes, please proceed, Daniel. Just introduce yourself, tell us your topic and your affiliation, and then you move on.
Okay, let me just share my screen. See my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. I'm Daniel Ando. I'm a master's student at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, taking a master in environmental planning and sustainable development. I'll be presenting this research work that I have been doing from August 2024 to April 2025. This data collection was carried between February 13th and February 20th. As part of introduction on land use, you find that most rural areas in sub-Saharan Africa have lagged behind in terms of intentional planning compared to urban areas in these regions. There has been limited policy attention that has been given to rural areas, and also there has been spatial oversight in this region. Now, these two major reasons have accelerated land fragmentation and also uncontrolled conversion of agricultural land uses to other abundant land uses. One of the emerging planning response to this land fragmentation and agricultural land use conversion is land use consolidation, which is a strategy within the overall new ruralism concept. So we find that this concept basically aims to unify land uses without altering ownership structure and also helping conserve the environment. Now, globally, when you look at countries such as Lithuania and maybe Rwanda, they have been very successful with land use conservation programs. But regionally, in terms of sub-Saharan Africa, land use conservation is relatively a new concept. And in Kenya, it has really failed to a larger extent, despite several attempts to develop it. Now, this study aims to investigate why in Kenya there has been maybe a certain attitude and maybe structural impediments that would hinder adoption of land use consolidation using Tabaka Ward in the county as our case study. Now, the problem statement for this study read as a lot of research recommendations, a lot of government initiatives, and other policy documents agree that land use conservation is the way to go in the face of rapid urbanization and population growth, but still it has not been well received within the communities in Kenya, particularly the agriculture practicing regions like Kisii, and this has led to extensive land subdivision, reduced food production, increased rural poverty levels, conflict, which is both spatial and social, and also encroachment on public areas. So the objective of this study is to investigate these factors that have hindered consolidation. The study assessed the current rural planning status of Tabaka Ward. It also analyzed the existing governance framework for rural planning in Tabaka Ward. And also to larger extent Kisii County. It assessed community attitudes towards land use consolidation in this region, and also the studies tried to establish the relationship between land use consolidation and rural planning, and also implement or recommend strategies for maybe future adoption or lack of adoption for the country. So it contributes to national policy, particularly the national, the rural development, Kenya Rural Development Program. It is a solution to the land fragmentation that we see in most rural regions in Kenya. It also enriches the body of knowledge because rural planning is relatively not much studied, and also contributes to the achievement of SDG 2, 11, and 15. This study analyzed a lot of literature in the topics of land use conservation versus land conservation and the difference. For the former is about unifying the uses of land to maximize their productivity, while the latter is about generally repossessing land ownership from the community and doing whatever the objective it is. The study looked deeply into the evolution of land use consolidation in three major time periods: the colonial period, the post-colonial, and after the new constitution. The study also looked at the factors that could hinder land use consolidation, and here the study looked at sociocultural practices and the issues of land inheritance, population growth, among other things. The study also looked at economic and market dynamics, the issues of land prices, the issues of land use change, and also the changing economic times, and finally the land tenure systems in Kenya. The study further delved in rural development planning and the theories that are involved. How is it working in other regions, other continents, compared to Kenya and to specific context Tabaka World. The study also looked at the relationship and also established controversies between land use consolidation and land use planning. And here it was very interesting because the study established that there are a lot of studies that root for land fragmentation, arguing that it is actually more productive than unifying land uses, while others were rooting for land use consolidation as the best approach towards urbanization and also in the context of Africa. There are also studies that were in the middle ground, a little bit of land use and a little bit of fragmentation. They get matched together and you see the results. There were case studies, successful ones from Lithuania, which involved unifying the ownership and use of land, and it was relatively successful, basically because the land is owned by the government. There was land use conservation program that started in Rwanda in 2008 that was only on the use. The citizens or communities retain the ownership of their lands, and it is one of the arguably successful initiatives in Africa. Locally, in Mara Naivasha, in Masai Mara area, the community in 2010 came together to consolidate their land to help conservation, promote tourism, and also increase the income as a result of the tourism. A study looked at the study area in detail. Tabaka Ward, it is 32 kilometers square, 32.8 square kilometer. The demographics here are about, it is highly populated, being that it is a rural ward of about 49,413 inhabitants with around 8,000 households. That's according to the statistics of 2019. The study looked at the government's framework available in Kenya in the specific area, and the theory that guided this study was the new ruralism, which aims to conserve agricultural land, wildlife habitat, natural resources, but at the same time also respond to the increasing development market demands as a result of urbanization and population. Eco-village concept and diffusion of innovation theory supported the main theory in this work. Now, the study adopted a qualitative descriptive case study design because the study was more about getting the attitude and the perception of the community towards land use consolidation. The study area was purposely selected due to its agricultural significance and also in historical issues of fragmentation. Primary data was collected through informants and also household interviews, as well as observation during site visits. Secondary data, some of which I've mentioned, were from planning reports and also documents that were relevant. The study interviewed 27 households, and these 27, it is important to know that the study reached through arguments from scholars, for instance, Priman on the how do reach to a good number of participants in a qualitative research design, and it was very challenging because each and every scholar had their own views, but overall they agreed that above 25, the researcher is likely to reach saturation of information when dealing with qualitative responses. And also key informants were identified to give their experiences from dealing with issues of land management in this area. The data was analyzed by NVivo and also ArcGIS, as well as Excel to produce categorical representation of respondents. Obviously, ethical approval was received from the Constitutional Ethics Committee and also NACOSTI. The participation to this study was voluntary, and data confidentiality was assured to the household respondents. Now, to our findings. Qualitative data were analyzed thematically. This included data gathering the data and also categorizing them according to the overall themes that they had.
Hello, morning. How are you? I'm calling from Marathon.
Please kindly mute your mic. There are some people speaking on the background. I'm just requesting them to mute. Dan, could you, because of time, could you just flash the results so that time is running out?
There was planning, the study established medical planning scenarios. There was extensive fragmentation. There was also disjointed infrastructural development, which required intervention. There was also issues of agricultural land being under pressure. This region is highly populated, and the study failed observed rapid land subdivision and also encroachment of road reserves and other areas to increase their land sizes. For instance, you can see here a very small size in fence in woods, but someone has to own land. There were issues of weak policy implementation. There was evidently gaps in policy implementation and institutional coordinations between the national government, the water administration, and even the county government. There were issues also of lack of capacity between the local government to manage issues such as land disputes, and this resulted in maybe distrust and lack of that, the negative attitude towards any issues to do with the land. Overlapping institutional mandates that maybe I've discussed, conflict between National Land Commission, county government, local administrators, and so on. There was, the study established deep cultural attachment to land, and this now, the respondents were very reluctant in terms of considering joint land use initiatives. The issues of inheritance as a norm. Everyone expected to be given land, however small it is. And also the study established that majority of the respondents acquired land through inheritance at 89%, and only 11% bought their land that they lived. There's issues of seeing land as a commodity, because here land is very expensive despite being a rural area, and it was fueling subdivision of land and so on. Then there were financial constraints and risk aversions. People were selling land to do other things, for instance, taking the kids to school and so on. So such things fueled land fragmentation, and people were not really into considering consolidating their lands, and also the issue of soapstone mining, which was less risky according to the respondents compared to agriculture. The complexity in tenure system, the study established a very interesting tenure system that exists, but not in the national laws. This is a customary and statutory land tenure systems, and it has unwritten rules, and it is informally only understood by the local residents, and the perceived insecurity that comes with group land use. So generally, the committee showed mixed attitudes to land use consolidation, with 44% not sure whether they wanted to participate or not, and only 26 willing, and this was as a result of maybe lack of information, among other fears in the community. So the study concludes that land use consolidation is a viable and potentially transformative tool for rural development in Kenya. Its adoption, however, faces multifaceted barriers, including socio-cultural traditions, economic disparities, and also weak governance. The persistence both in land use fragmentation that was established by the study was fueled by inheritance customs, the tenure system that exists, and speculative land markets. Generally, for effective implementation, the study also established from the respondents that they require adaptive, participatory, and also tenure-sensitive strategies that align with the local realities and community priorities. Now, the recommendations include implementing community-based land use education programs, encourage voluntary conservation using incentive-driven models, for instance, borrowed from the Rwanda's model, developing tenure-responsive legal frameworks, as I indicated earlier, and also integrating land use conservation into integrated development plans for the county. The study also established play areas in terms of research. There were little theories as far as rural planning is concerned compared to theories of urban planning. There were also lessons to be learned a lot from the Europe's and Asia's strategies towards land use conservation for rural development and the issues of women or the role of women in rural planning. As this study established that around 15% of the respondents who are household heads were women, and now what is the role of women in land use decision making in a society that is largely patrilineal and also inheritance system? Another area is investigating the spatial relationships between economic restructuring and land consumption in the context of sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's now a session for questioning and interacting with you. Let me start with the people who are online. Is there anybody with a question? Just shout it, please, if you have a question. Tell us your name, your affiliation, and then the question. Eli.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Eli Otunga. I'd like to thank the presenter. That's an awesome presentation. Now, my question is, in your slides, I was able to see some 3 theories that were employed in the study. Now, why was the study guided by the 3 theories, and how relevant is each of these theories to the study? That is my question.
Thank you, Eli. Anybody on the floor, the physical, where we are, anybody with a question? Because this is a learning and sharing session, we don't want to lock anybody out. Okay, anybody online with a question? Let me go back online, apart from Eli. Dan, you'll write the question, then we'll give you an opportunity to respond at once. And in your response, try to be as brief as possible. Anybody online with a question? Okay, Dan, my question is this. You talked about models of land consolidation in Lithuania and Rwanda. Lithuania is in Europe, probably developed. Rwanda is developing. And these are 2 models which are on the extreme ends of developing and developed. My question is, did these models work for you where they were implemented? Were they working? And was there anything that informed your study in any way from those 2 models? How successful were they if you compare them to our context? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You can still hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, starting with the first question on the theories. Yes, I talked about 3 theories, and then our main theory was a new ruralism theory, which is a relatively new theory, not well discussed in African context, because as I said earlier, in sub-Saharan Africa, the intentionality about the rural planning has been lacking for the longest time. Okay, you talked about how it relates to this study. This theory or concept tries to provide framework for conserving the environment, conserving the agricultural land, conserving the habitats and other natural settings, but at at the same time enable the rural settings to respond to the development needs as a result of urbanization and also population growth. Now, the other theories that support it is about eco-village theory that I talked about, and basically this is how harmoniously maybe we can have pocket villages in the context of rural neururalism. And the theory of innovation that I talked about is basically discussing how do we introduce a new concept, maybe probably borrowed from another context, into the population, which are the stages you need to follow to ensure maybe it is successful, and so on. So the main theory, the other two theories just support the main theory. In the second question, I look at Lithuania because it has relatively a more successful land use consolidation program started in 1991, and it was supposed to give, or rather, to be a benchmark for an overall successful land use consolidation. But again, I looked at Rwanda because Rwanda shares a lot of the features with Tabaka and some parts of Kenya, and the differences of how Rwanda incorporated different ways of doing the land use consolidation and how it was successful. So, from the community and discussing for them these two models, in this slide you realize that the farmers were more to the Rwanda's model, where they were more comfortable with retaining the ownership of the land while consolidating the uses of that land. And some of the crops they proposed were tea and coffee zones. Now, in my last bullet point, this Lithuania's approach was seen as less applicable, and also in terms of Kenya systems that's different between the two countries. So the community were like, this is not possible, and we might not really embrace it if we follow that route. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you. We appreciate. Pass our greeting to Jekwat if you're in Jekwat, but I've also seen you have a number for Germany. So if you're in Germany, enjoy your spring. Let's move to the next presenter. The next presenter who is available. Do we have Arizona Baongoli?
Yes, I'm available. I am available, Arizona.
Please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please just tell us your name, your affiliation, and then give us the topic of your study. Then go ahead to present. If you have slides, you have the right to share. Thank you. You can start.
Yes. Yes, I have slides. If they can give me the right to share, I can share. Yeah, my name is Arizona Bangoli, and I am a lecturer at University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, where I teach communication and journalism. I'm also a PhD student at Rongo University, where I'm doing my program in communication and media studies. And my presentation for today is entitled The Use of Congolese Music as Health Communication Strategy in the Fight Against HIV/AIDS, a case study of Franco's Luambo song Attention à Sida. I don't know if I can be given the right to share my slides.
Yes, you have the right. Go ahead and share.
Okay, let me do that very quickly. I don't know if, are you able to see the slides then?
It's loading, yes, we can see it.
Okay, all right. So I was saying the title of my presentation is The Use of Congolese Music as Health Communication Strategy in the Fight Against HIV/AIDS. A case study of Franco's Luambo song, Attention à Sida.
Bangoli, could you try to be as brief as possible so that we keep time? I'll give you 10 to 12 minutes only.
10 minutes, yeah. I have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I will move very fast. I should be done. Yeah, in addition to my area in communication, I'm also interested in Congolese music because that's where I come from. And I am a published author in a number of books dealing with Congolese music, including translation of classic Lingala songs. I've also published other books in Congolese music, including for Rongo. Now, in this study here, I want to look at how health communication strategies can be used in the fight against HIV/AIDS, and I want to look at music as a tool of health communication strategy, which can be used specifically in DRC because of the fact that Congolese people, they love their music. And the study will examine how the use of Congolese popular music in electronic media, namely radio, television, and social media, can play a key role in influencing health behavior, specifically for the prevention of HIV/AIDS. And we will be looking into the case for Franco. So we'll use the case study of Franco Luambo song. The song is entitled Attention à Sida, which means beware of AIDS, to evaluate the impact that popular music can have on health behaviors. And the main research approach to be used in this study is content analysis, which will examine the content of Franco's Luambo song, Attention à Sida. Content analysis is an approach that is used to systematically analyze the content of communication, such as text, images, in our case, audio. If we had time, I would have played for you the song, but I know that time is not on our side, and the song is 16 minutes long. But I will just give a summary on that. You can access the song on YouTube, and you'll be able to appreciate this presentation more. So the main objective of the study is to evaluate the content of the song and to look at the impact that the song can have in influencing health behaviors in the prevention of HIV/AIDS among the Congolese people. The study will use a purposive sample of Congolese nationals who are here in Kenya, specifically at the University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, to evaluate the influence of Congolese music on health behaviors, focusing on the prevention of HIV/AIDS. Now, the Congo, just as a brief background, DRC generally known as the land of music. This makes it where people really love music. And because people love music, it becomes easier to communicate any piece of information through music. Because as we get into here, when you look at DRC, you see the map there. It's quite a big country, the second largest in Africa, 11th largest in the world. But in terms of music, they produce music in quantity. That's why we are using music in our case. We are looking at music as, we have defined it as a communication approach, organizes sound in terms of pitch, duration, timbre, and loudness. Basically, we are not looking at music just as entertainment, but a form of communication. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello? Okay. Yes. Yes, I was saying that we we are looking at music as a form of communication where message can be passed, and in our case, the earth messages can be passed through music. Because music, according to one of the books written by Bangoli, plays a critical function in the Congolese society. It plays a function to inform the society, to educate the society, to persuade people, to warn the society, to spread political propaganda. And in that case, music basically plays the traditional functions that communication plays. And in the Congolese society, people do not freely discuss about issues related to sex, sexual intercourse, sexually transmitted infections. Some of these topics are considered as taboo. But when it comes to music, it becomes easier to talk about these topics. That's why these can solve the problem of discussing freely about HIV/AIDS and any topic related to sex through music, since people always, like artists, they will be able to sing in their music, include content, even content that can be considered as taboo in the society. As in addition to the fact that music can inform people, music in the Congolese society can also build health literacy, which is defined as the ability to find, understand, and evaluate information. Music basically will empower people with information, and this is through information related to health, and we are focusing mostly in HIV/AIDS. Now, when we talk about health communication strategy, we are looking into the different strategies that are used in different channels, media specifically, to be able to pass information. And these strategies, we are going to quickly just outline them and then focus on the one that we are discussing so that we can finalize on what we are discussing. There are many health strategies, communication strategies that are used to be able to pass information related to health. We have what we call informative communication strategy, which is one of the strategies that is used. We have, I will just outline them quickly. Number 2, persuasive communication strategy. Behavioral change communication strategy. That's also another strategy that is very common. Social marketing strategy, risk communication strategy, advocacy communication strategy, interpersonal strategy. But I'm going to focus on number 8 here, entertainment communication strategy, which aims to educate people through engaging format like drama, music, storytelling, etc. And this is where now music comes in, because in this health communication strategy, which is more entertainment oriented, people can also be educated. Now, when it comes to music, music is generally considered as a form of entertainment. For majority of people in the Democratic Republic of Congo, they listen to music as a form of entertainment. But now, artists, they can take advantage to educate people, to inform people, to warn people, basically to fulfill all the functions of communication. And that's exactly what Rongo did. He took advantage because he was a good entertainer, he was a good artist who could pull crowds, and he took advantage to educate people about HIV/AIDS, to warn people, to empower people with information. And that's the strategy used here. The theoretical framework used in this study is the theory of diffusion and innovation theory. And this, according to Kiavo, this theory is a behavioral and social science theory which seek to analyze and explain how change occurs at individual, community, and social level. The diffusion and innovation theory was initiated and developed by Everest Rogers, initially in 1962. It was revised in 1983 and later 1995. And it addresses how new ideas, concepts, or practices can spread with a community. Basically, we are looking into the use of music as an innovative way where someone can innovate by entertaining and educating people. And that's, it makes it a little bit special because instead of just using the traditional way, people can use music to pass health messages. And the key elements of these theories include innovation, and that's, as we know, innovation, AI that we are now currently using is an innovation. There is time, social system. All these other details are about the theories. I will skip them because of time. Then the overall premise of this theory is that change occurs over time and is dependent on some of the stages that are outlined here. Now, interestingly, when we look at the music that Franco composed for these Attention à Sida, that was like 36 years ago, and up to date, the song is still being played, and it is still fulfilling the objectives that he had in mind. Now, in this theory, with the premise here, we have the different steps: awareness, knowledge and interest, decision, trial or implementation, confirmation or rejection of the behavior. So the theory is trying to create the different steps that one will go through. The awareness during the message of the song, then people will be empowered. The knowledge, that is health literacy that will come. They will take the decision, like for HIV, whether they should engage in behaviors that will be risky or not. Then they will try to implement and then confirm or reject. Now, HIV at the beginning was a disease that was full of myth. And during that time, that's the time Franco composed that song. It was not like now, where we are all knowledgeable, but still, the song is still useful. Now, let me quickly finish. Now, the research approach used in this study is content analysis, which is frequently used in the media. And this method is popular with the mass media because it is an efficient. So basically, we were analyzing the content of the song here. Content of the song analyzed, which is entitled Attention à Sida by Franco Rongo, was a major masterpiece. He released it in 1987, just a couple of years before he died. He died in 1989. That's 30 or so plus years ago. And this powerful 16 minutes sermon, when it was released, was really, it was still a new disease. My time is almost up. I'm winding up. So I will, in the song, Franco reminds people how AIDS does not discriminate different ways, that AIDS is transmitted, how it is transmitted, how it is prevented. He explained all that in the song. And the extract of the song that I've put here in the chorus, Franco is telling people to restrain from risky behavior. Yeah, each one should restrain because AIDS does not discriminate, irrespective of your country, your community, your tribe, your age, it does not discriminate. And he outlined all those different themes within that song, how people should take care of themselves, how the scientists should work hard to look for a cure for HIV. It's a long, long song, which is 16 minutes long, but we don't have time to go through all the details, but that's a summary of the song. Now, since the main objective of the study is to evaluate the impact of the use of popular music as health communication strategy, the researcher used a purposive sample of 30 Congolese on campus, but you would ask why just 30 Congolese. This is just a very small sample. The real study, if I have to carry it, that's definitely, we'll have to go large scale, like in DRC, where we could have a sample that is more complex and representative. But this is just to have an idea on what influence Congolese music has when it comes to health. And an interview was carried because within the university here we have a community. This is an international university. We have more than 20 countries represented here at University of Eastern Africa, Baraton. DRC is just one of them. And the The community here is comprises of around 60 or so students and faculty. I am a Congolese myself. So I took a sample of half of that number just to be able to interview.
Okay, could you fasten a bit time?
Congolese music, to find out on the content of Congolese music and the impact of the content and of the music, and specifically focusing on the health messages. And from the interview carried out, I realized that majority of the Congolese people who are here, definitely they love listening to Congolese music, and the younger people prefer to listen to the younger generation, like Fadi Pupa etc., while the old people prefer listening to music like for Rongo, Rongo, Tapule, and so forth. But when it comes to the content, all of them agree that they listen to the content, and the content it really influence their thinking, because the themes most of the artists, musicians sing about do influence their minds. We have different themes. We have themes in politics, themes in love, themes in health, and all those themes, they do influence. Coming specifically to the content for health, they all majority believe that the theme in health, specifically for HIV, has influenced the way they look at things, the way they act, and the way
Okay, Bagoli, your time is up.
In other words, it was, okay, time is up. The study revealed that Congolese popular music is a powerful tool as a health communication strategy, mostly because Congolese music is listened and watched by the majority of Congolese. This makes it easier to pass a message. Although Franco died in 1989, 36 years ago, his music is still relevant today. In fact, his music is still played on radio, TV, in Congo and outside Congo. This study finds that in the Democratic Republic of Congo, popular music can be used as an innovative health communication strategy in the fight against HIV. Although there are many other health communication strategies, music, which falls under the entertainment strategy, is often is overlooked by the policymakers and government. In conclusion, we can say that convincing people to adopt healthy behaviors, it requires some creativity, and music is one of them. Recommendations: this study can be carried at a large scale in DRC, where the data can be used for other countries as well. It can also be carried in other countries to look at the impact of music for health messages. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I went a little bit beyond the time allocated.
That's okay, thank you. I think the most important thing is the knowledge. Thank you, Bangoli, thank you so much. Any question from participants online? Any question? Okay, I want to assume there's no question from online, but we have one question here from a participant who is face to face. The microphone, please.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. You will allow me inquire this from you. You know, I love the rumba music, I can say. But now the problem comes in terms of interpretation. Because maybe the kind of music I'm listening when I'm heartbroken is the same song that another person who is enjoying and being entertained is listening to. So in terms of interpretation, especially the use of similes and metaphors, is it a mindset thing? Because the way you're saying that in terms of communication, are you sure that whatever you are listening to in helping you to communicate about HIV and AIDS, the same perception that another person who is listening to the same music is interpreting it at the same point? Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Bangoli, please respond.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Well, definitely there are some issues we need to raise. It will not be the same the way I listen to it and the way the other person will listen to it. One of the key factors is language barrier. Because, for example, in Kenya, many Kenyans, they listen to Congolese music, but because the language that the music is, they use, Lingala, to sing, for Kenyans, I could say majority of Kenyans will listen to it mostly for entertainment. But the other people who listen to music and understand the language, definitely, as they are being entertained, they will also get the message. So I think for communication to take place, language is a key factor here. And that's what will play the role to make that difference between those who listen to it simply for entertainment and those who listen to it for entertainment and the message at the same time. That's maybe what I can say briefly.
Thank you so much. I think the answer is brief and clear. I got the music on YouTube. Hello?
Excuse me, I didn't get that. Yes?
La maladie, le sida, un mal qui ne pardonne pas. Le sida, un mal qui n'épargne personne. Oh, ce fléau, le sida, qui laisse impuissante la médecine.
Okay, we've had, I think it's very interesting the way you did content analysis to understand how music can be used to promote health education. Thank you so much, Bengali. Pass our greetings from wherever you are. Good warm greetings from Rongo University. And now I want to usher in the next presenter. Anybody who is ready online, I will not follow order now. Whoever is ready to present, you just tell us your name, your affiliation, the topic, and you start. So Bengali, could you please freeze the presentation?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, who is ready to present online? We have Ochieng David Calvins, Evans Ouma, Dr. Stephen Owino, Edwin Oluma Wanjala, Professor Nyamai, Olga Onyango, Warren Oyale, Jacinta Kanyili. Who is available online to present in any of the names that I've called out? Anybody who is prepared to present from the names I've read? Or anybody who is available to present? Thank you. This is who. Please just tell us your name, your affiliation, then the topic of your presentation, and then you proceed. Welcome. I can see somebody on the screen with the earphones. Please tell us your name, your affiliation, which institution you come from, the topic of your study, and then go ahead and present. Welcome. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, seemingly I don't know whether he's here. Can any other person who is online hear what I'm saying? Those who are online, can you hear me?
Daktari, we can hear you.
Okay. Then who is ready to present? Any presenter online, just present. We are not following order now. Whoever is ready will just present. Hello? Am I supposed to assume all the presenters are done? Because there are names who have not presented here. We have Calvin Uchieng David. We have Dr. Evans Ouma, who should be presenting. We have Stephen Owino. We have Edwin Oluma Wanjala. We have Professor Nyamai, Olga Onyango, Warren Oyale, and Jacinta Kinyili. Do we have any of those participants available online to present?
Sure. I'm seeing Dr. Evans has just joined, and I'm seeing Calvin on the call. I don't know why he's not responding.
Calvin's.
Calvin has changed on the call. Dr. Evans has just joined now. I don't know why they're not responding. So.
Okay. Calvin Zuching, can you hear me? Or maybe he's muted his mic. Or earphone, I don't know. Hello? Anybody who is ready to present? Otherwise, we'll be forced to break for lunch. This is my final call. Ochieng David Calvins, are you here with us? Ochieng David Calvins? Dr. Evans Ouma, are you here with us online to present?
I've been actually in the room here. I don't know how I got here. I've actually presented the other side.
Oh, you presented. Thank you so much. So we'll omit you. Do we have Stephen Owino? Stephen Owino? Okay, do we have Edwin Oluma Wanjala? Calvin Zuchieng, I'm having a technical problem with my microphone. Okay. At least you are there, but you're still having some technical hitch. Do we have Edwin Oluma Wanjala? Calvin, please let us know when you have solved your technical problem so that you present. Meanwhile, Edwin Oluma Wanjala, not there.
Mr. Chair, let me come in. This is Paul.
Yes.
I think people, those who are not, I think those who are not in the opening assembly may have moved to the room B, which was actually what we had anticipated in the program. I don't know whether that is what is causing the confusion.
Yeah, it could be there, but if they're online, they should just tell us, like everyone has told us that he has presented in another room.
Yeah.
So if they're still here, they can just inform us that they have presented. Professor Nyamai? Okay, can I present, please? Who is this? PC to everyone. Who is PC? PC, please show your face, identify yourself, your affiliation, the topic, and then present. I've given you the green light. The participant who is abbreviated PC on Zoom, please present. Oops. But I thought you said you want to present. Do you have Olga Onyango? Warren Oyale, and Jacinta Kinyili. These are the challenges that come with technology. Some would wish to present, but they are still having challenges from their end. I don't know how soon they should be able to rectify the challenges so that they come online and present. So, Uchieng David Calvins was having a problem. Yes, Uchieng David Calvins Uchieng, now present, I can see. Can I present immediately? Please do. Show us your face, and then you also have the right to share your slides with us if you have the slides. Please unmute. Uchieng Calvins, unmute.
He's asking to present after lunch.
Immediately after lunch. But we still have time now. Could we just present? I would prefer that he presents now before we go for lunch. Okay, thank you. Ochieng, please present now because after lunch we might not have presentations. We are ending the presentation now. After lunch we'll be going to a different activity, which is quite different from presentations. So I will request Ochieng Calvins to quiz this time and present now. Ochieng, are you with us? Ochieng, I'm informed we are not going to have presentations in the afternoon. All right, seemingly we have lost him. Ah, okay, he's back. This is Jackton Utieno Midigo. Jackton, please identify yourself, your affiliation, and then proceed with the presentation. Unmute and proceed. We can't hear you. Unmute from your end. Jackson, are you really with us? We can see the slides, but we can't hear you. Could you unmute me from this end? The technical team, as the muting problem is coming from our end? Is it? No, I think they're saying the muting is not from our end, it is from your end. So please unmute. The problem is not from our end, it is from your end. Roy, could you please check whether the issue they're raising is true? Huh? They have the right to speak. Hey. Okay, Ochieng, seemingly we are having a challenge. You are having a challenge from your end. And now My audio is on, but we can't hear you.
No.
Yes, speak up, please. Yes, who is speaking?
I'm the one, Jackson.
Okay, Jackson, please, now we can hear you. Proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Jackson Medigo. It is my pleasure to do a presentation on this topic, which is, sorry, just a minute, innovative solutions to support documentation and revitalization of indigenous African languages. This work was born out of a deep concern for the rate at which African indigenous languages are becoming endangered. And now, as a linguist, I was motivated by finding out how we can leverage emerging technologies, like in our case AI, to preserve our linguistic heritage before it vanishes. And my slides are not moving. Okay, now, according to our 2024, indigenous languages face the risk of endangerment, and what causes this is globalization and urbanization, and also the languages which are dominating our sphere of education and even media, which is making many people nowadays to be more on those foreign languages than our native languages. And therefore, we find that there is need for effective documentation and revitalization strategies. And according to JAMO's 2023, artificial intelligence has emerged as a transformative tool in addressing various challenges. And therefore, we tend to find that there is innovative solution for documenting and revitalizing our native languages using this AI. Now, the problem we envisage in this study is that the endangerment of indigenous African languages
We have lost you.
the endangerment of indigenous African languages threatens the... Sorry?
Now we can hear you. Continue. Now we can hear you.
Okay, the endangerment of indigenous African languages threatens the continent's cultural and linguistic heritage. You know that in Africa, language is very key to us, and it is very rich in propagating our culture. And therefore, with the traditional preservation method, like where we normally do research and we publish them, is a struggle to keep the pace with the modern change, where now there are technologies coming up like AI. Though we find that in this study, what the gap we bring in is that there is little known on how AI can support the documentation and revitalization of these languages. And therefore, with this AI advancement, for language modeling, speech recognition, and also translation, which I saw as an opportunity to bridge the gap between the technology of and also the linguistic preservation. Now, the objective that guided this study is to examine the role of AI in the documentation and also revitalization of indigenous African languages, and also to assess the benefits and limitations of this AI application in African languages, and lastly, to explore the challenges hindering the effective implementation of AI in African languages documentation. And we are justified to carry out this because the findings will highlight the potential of these AI technologies to support sustainable language revitalization and also contribute to preserving global linguistic diversity. We anchored our study using appropriating technology theory, which is propounded by Egler 2004. This theory underscores the idea that technology should not just be imposed from outside, but it should be imported it should be shaped by the local community's value, knowledge system, and also social structure, so that it incorporates the ideology of the community that their language is being used in documenting them technologically. there are several initiatives that were reviewed, but now for the sake of this presentation, just the two, which is DEMIS 2024 and also WOM 2023, we find that from their findings, there is a gap on how this can happen, how technology can be used in the context of the emerging digital tools like AI, and also these studies are just looking at the functionalities of these technologies rather than the contextual applicability to the indigenous African languages. And this was a systemic review method of study where we used the PRISMA for screening and selection of the data which we sourced from 10 academic digital repositories which are peer-reviewed from journals in the 4 databases, which is Google Scholar, Springer Link, Science Direct, and African Journals Online. And the criteria we used for inclusion in the review was the studies that were published between 2020 and also March 2025. We intended to look at the current studies on how they talk about AI and whether it can be applicable in revitalizing our indigenous languages and also preserving them. And the exclusion criteria was that we didn't look at those studies which don't specifically address the language preservation. When doing the review, there are things that were identified, 4 majorly. And one of them is that there was AI-powered speech recognition and also machine learning in language transcription and neural machine translation and digital archiving. And these are where now we base our data to find out how these things or these mechanisms of AI can be innovated and can be used to revitalize our indigenous African languages and also preserve them. Now, out of the review and the gaps that came out, I realized that AI can be used as a powered language documentation and also revitalization. And this can happen because AI is able to enhance automatic language transcription, and this can happen through advanced speech recognition models and also using supervised learning to accurately convert speech to text. But we find that because our languages are not much documented in the technology, then there is a gap which, when this one is now innovated, it is able to document our languages. And this supports one who highlights that how AI advancements have automated key aspects of language documentation. And we find that this one also can be applied in the context of our African languages. The second one was that there can be a digital archiving and also corpus development through AI. I found that AI can enhance the efficiency of collecting, annotating, and also storing linguistic data. And this one is able to aid the creation of digital archives for indigenous languages. And this is noted by Tossard and Gattel 2023, who indicates that technologies like speech recognition support large-scale transcription and also analysis languages. So when we use those mechanisms of AI of transcribing the languages, when we incorporate or when we make this machine to learn our African languages, then it is able to put a repository and even create a peradventure dictionary of our languages. That now when maybe somebody is searching on something concerning our language, it is able to bring it on board. However much AI can be used to revitalize our languages and even revive them, we realize that there are some challenges that need to be navigated. One of them is that AI model needs an extensive annotated linguistic data to perform well. But we find that our indigenous languages lack sufficient resources, such as the transcriptions and also audio recording. We only normally do research and then we put in the repository our findings concerning these researches. But find that we have not trained AI to be able to decode our languages, maybe looking at the things like the phonological aspect and even the topological aspect and syntactic aspect. So sometimes AI can misrepresent these our African languages, maybe when they are engaged in finding out how our language looks like. And now, let machine high performance ability in supporting documentation of our indigenous languages. And now to conclude, we find that AI can offer innovative practical tools for documentation and also revitalization of our indigenous languages. And also there should be now collaboration between AI researchers and also indigenous communities, which are also key in providing ethical integration, where we incorporate our communities and do a practical aspect of engaging AI machine translation and learning and also encoding, so that we can own what AI bring on board concerning how we can use it to revitalize and also document our language. And therefore, there should be future research which should focus on community-led AI supported framework, where we can use the mechanisms of AI like machine translation and also algorithms to be able to train AI to be able to encode the aspects of our indigenous African languages appropriately. So I recommend that it is necessary to promote interdisciplinary collaboration between linguists and AI experts, and they need to collaborate in finding out how they can train AI machine in learning our African indigenous languages. And there should also be collaboration between local communities and AI experts. From the research that were reviewed, find that it is only giving optimism of how technology can revitalize or preserve our language. But now the practical aspect where it can be applied practically within our local communities, not just from a far away point, but now it is coming into the local community in making this AI to learn what the community values concerning their language is necessary. And also, it is necessary to develop inclusive, culturally sensitive AI tools and invest in data collection and infrastructure. We can liberate recording our languages audio and then feeding it into AI, making AI to learn how we pronounce our languages and how the variety of maybe dialects and other things concerning our language is able to be detected well with this AI machine. And that marks the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Jackson. Any question from the participants who are online? Any questions for the presenter? From the online participants, first. Is there anybody with a question who are those who are online? Okay, thank you. From the physical space here, anybody with a question for Jackson? Yes, we have one question from Dr. Namunga.
Jackson, thank you so much for your presentation. My question is, are you suggesting from your presentation that there is an issue that you might want to find on language using AI and you are not able to get?
Not really. Okay, what I'm trying to say, sorry?
Go on, we are listening.
Hello?
Go on, Jackson, just, we can hear you, proceed.
What I'm insinuating with my research is that many researchers have come up with this AI and they have trained it to learn the human language. But now most of the studies which I reviewed, I realized that the context of their study is on those foreign languages mostly. And now these African languages have not been studied on how they can be revitalized and also preserved. And we know that these foreign languages are dominating our native languages. For example, we find that in education system, trading, and even media, what is dominating is the foreign languages. So I was thinking that this AI, recently there is that Simba AI which was innovated in Kenya, which is a good step. But we find that these, our native languages are still scarce in the digital space and they need to be fed in the digital space so that this AI is able to efficiently make us revitalize and also preserve our African languages.
Thank you so much, Jackson. Do you have any other question? I don't want to lock anyone out. Is there anybody who is online who has a question? Okay, I want to assume the questions are over. Thank you so much for your presentation. And we appreciate. I've seen Professor Nyamai online. Professor Nyamai, if you can hear me.
How are you? Sorry.
We are fine, Prof. How are you?
Yeah, online.
We want to welcome you to do your presentation.
Online.
Do you have a presentation for us?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Then just tell us your full name and your affiliation. Just a minute. Tell us your full name, your affiliation, and the topic of what you are covering, and then you start. This is for the benefit of those who are online, who are not privy to you. Thank you, Prof. The floor is yours. Yes, Professor Nyamai.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please tell us your full name for the benefit of other people who are not from Rongo, your affiliation, and then the topic of your presentation. Then you also have a right to share your slides if you have them. So please take up the floor.
My names are Professor Daniel Odinde Nyamai. I work for Rongo University, and I'm a professor of agroforestry and conservation. I am going to share in this conference, I'm going to share our research on ecotourism, the nexus between ecotourism and conservation. Ecotourism and conservation, using a case study of the Lambwe forest ecosystem. I'm just trying to mount the presentation so that I go straight to share with you the content of this presentation shortly. And do I need to say more than that?
Just share the slide and continue because of time. Please share your slide and then present. I've seen you have muted yourself. Please unmute yourself because you are on the floor. Prof, you have muted your microphone. Unmute it. Yes, we can hear you now. Do you have slides to share?
resources tunahitaji yale.
Okay.
Thank you. We can see your slides, Prof. Go ahead and present.
Okay. Okay. Hello.
Just present. We are seeing the slides. Just present.
Okay. Sorry for the little delay in fixing the presentation. As I mentioned in my introduction, the presentation is, this research is focusing on the linkage between ecotourism and forest conservation. And we are using the case study of Lambo. I think one member is not there. So that is the presentation. Next slide. The summary of this presentation is basically about the Roma National Park, which is part of the Lambwe Forest ecosystem, the larger Lambwe Forest ecosystem. But the Roma part is basically the protected area where the animal biodiversity and are located. It has several pockets of degradation, which is a challenge to this particular ecosystem. We are looking at how tourism, ecotourism, can help or has helped the conservation efforts of this particular forest ecosystem. And therefore, our objective is to look at how socioeconomic linkages between this protected forest ecosystem interact with ecotourism activities. The forest has basically three, that is the geographical area of the forest. It has three forest types: the natural forest, the plantation, and the dry forest, or more or less the bushland. The ecosystem is relatively rich in biodiversity, and I think that is a justification for having established the Roma National Park out of this particular forest because of its rich biodiversity. There are recent demographic factors that has interacted or has influenced the establishment or the management of this forest, particularly the linkages on tourism from the visiting population and the communities that are surrounding the forest. The forest definitely has a very significant ecotourism potential, and that links very well for conservation of this particular forest and also for bringing the community to participate in its conservation sustainability. So we were looking at what are the linkages that exist between the communities and the forest ecosystem itself. Particularly, we are using what we call the community forest association members. These community forest association members are empowered by law to work or co-manage forest ecosystems, not only in Lambwe but in Kenya. That is by law, embedded in the Forest Act. Our objective of this study is to establish the nature and extent of ecotourism-based livelihood that the CFAs, Community Forest Association members, access. We determined the CFA's participation in conservation of this forest ecosystem, particularly from ecotourism-driven activities. The third objective is we have examined the leverage of ecotourism in achieving environmental conservation or in forest conservation, for that matter. The methodology that we have used to study these interactions was simply, we used simple random sampling techniques using the selected communities surrounding the forest ecosystem, basically the villages from which we obtained respondents. We used purposive sampling design to get the required sample population. The third step we looked at is we conducted what we call proportionate distribution of household population for Lambwe forest ecosystem. We used both qualitative and quantitative methods to derive the required information for this purpose. The research tool used was basically questionnaire, which was given to the key respondents, basically the CFAs in the study area and in the adjacent forest block. The data we have generated was analyzed using Excel spreadsheet, SPSS, and the two-way ANOVA model, and econometric functions, chi-square statistical test to establish the existing relationship. Our key findings on the basis of the study we have carried out, we looked at factors that influence ecotourism, and we have established that accessibility to specific sites in terms of infrastructure was critical, particularly the road network. Security of the forest ecosystem was also key because wild animals, wild biodiversity like leopards and other wild animals, which could hinder movement in and out of the forest ecosystem. We looked also at the landscape architecture and proximity to urban centers nearby. We also looked at what was considered as biodiversity hotspots, because in the forest ecosystem, there are certain areas that are critical, either in terms of they are significant with respect to a particular biodiversity, like animal biodiversity, or certain plant species that are critical. So this we identified as what we call biodiversity hotspots. Accessibility to critical natural resources like sources of spring water for drinking. Also, we looked at sites that are amenable to tourist visitations, like what we call ecotourism hotspot sites. Some of the results that we have generated in this study, for instance, we looked at the role of biodiversity resource to local communities. What are the local communities documenting or accessing or benefiting from in terms of the biodiversity that we are trying to conserve in this forest ecosystem? We looked at the forest ecosystem resource itself. We looked at the water access or access to water resources, medicinal plants. The grazing is a critical requirement because the communities around, particularly during dry season, they graze in the forest because that is where they can find some last rush. Fuel wood collection is synonymous with the forest around. Hunting and to a limited extent the fishing of wild animals. Then we also looked at beekeeping, which is also very, very important in this forest. Now, these parameters, these factors, these ecosystem resources, we looked at them against the response from the communities. We looked at the non-participant members and the participant members, and we scored the statistics as we see it. This continued to quarry mining, birdwatch, and another unique part. Another unique resource which these forests offer is also the cultural renewal attributes. You have heard of the Gor Mahia legendary, which also come from or neighboring this forest. The communities of Kanyamwa people and the Suba people frequently visit this forest for cultural or spiritual renewal that is related to their culture. So again, we look at important, less important issues as the presentation here. I will not go into so much detail because of time. The socioeconomic attributes or characteristics that we looked at were basically what is the occupation of the CFAs. Majority of them are farmers, non-farmer and self-employed, and unemployed, casual workers, and permanently employed. And those are the numbers that we scored. We also, in this study, we have established the ecotourism income profile of the various categories of sites or resources. For instance, we have looked at the non-timber forest products, which the communities through ecotourism activities are looking at. We also looked at the biodiversity score. We also looked at what I call the natural resources that are also in this category. Then we looked at the degradation of natural resource, the index of degradation. This is the crux of the matter, that the degradation of natural resources and the indicators for the degradation. For instance, tree stumps from illegal logging, that was visible from the old stumps, debarking, forms of traps and snares, charcoal burning, debranching for fuel wood, foliage destruction, grassing, and others. And these, the indicators are very clear against each element of natural resource degradation. I want to conclude this presentation by making the following observations, that the biophysical results from the analysis we carried out showed that the adjacent local communities contributed to the deterioration of the natural resources by participating in some activities which are not in tandem with conservation principles. You can call them illegal activities. Also, we established that the proliferation of invasive species has resulted into the loss of other critical species range in this particular ecosystem, forest ecosystem. We noticed that there exists a positive existence of significant positive correlation or linear relationship between the footpaths and most of the disturbances, the forest disturbances, according to the biophysical results that we obtained. The study also confirmed that there are several benefits gained from ecotourism enterprises, and not limited to the protection of the natural forest or the natural resources that provide biodiversity, aesthetic value, self-employment, and etc. The forest benefits and the community forest associations, who are also part of the custodians, do participate in the protected area history that has remained a bit weak. It's a weak linkage in establishing a strong positive correlation between removal of forest products and ecotourism visitation. I would like to stop our presentation at this point. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Maybe I'll give this chance to any member who is online to ask a question. This is the opportunity to interact with the participant. Anybody who is online would like to pose a question to Professor Nyamai? Okay, I want to assume there is no question for those who are online. Let me come back to the physical space. Anybody with a question? We have one question coming for you, Prof. Just prepare. Just tell us your name and then pose the question.
Yeah, my name is Tony Blair, and Prof, that was a good presentation. Now, my concern is, what is the awareness threshold for the sampled villages or the correspondence in relation to their socio-economic activities, that is farming, that is a possible indicator of forest encroachment interfering with the conservation principle? Thank you.
Yes, Prof. That's a question for you. Kindly respond.
So I respond to this question, or we take more? I can respond to this question.
Just respond to this one. Just respond, Prof. Respond to that question.
Okay. Yeah, we listed a long list of real and perceived or soft benefits that communities derive from this ecosystem. the list was very long. So it depends on some people would put emphasis on certain aspects. For instance, the aspects of tangible benefits like removing a medicinal component or removing wood or keeping bees, and those are tangible, real, non-forest, non-timber or timber-based or wood-based product. But the conservation benefits are also we observed that because the tourist visitation brings revenue and the communities benefit indirectly and directly. For instance, when they sell certain artifacts or when the tourists buy certain things in their stalls, and also, for instance, the community members that would walk the tourists to certain sites would get direct remuneration or revenue. So it is a multiplicity of direct benefits and indirect benefits, and we listed that. And the communities are aware. It's only that different members of the community will emphasize on different aspects depending on their individual interests. And that is what we have captured in the study. So you saw the list that we had of the various items, the various, for instance, some members are interested in the springs because that is where they get water. Some members are interested in quarry mining. Some members are interested in bird watching. They know that these things are critical and bring them revenue. Cultural renewal and spiritual renewal. I did mention, if you can remember, the Gor Mahia legendary story. I can go on mentioning a very long list: water access, medicinal plants access, grazing access, fuelwood collection, hunting, beekeeping. The list is long. So this tells us that it proves that these communities know what they want from the forest.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you for that in-depth response. And I'm not sure whether there is anybody with a question, because our time has run out. And I want to deeply apologize for those who will not be able to present because of time. We are going to have a closing ceremony from 1:30, and the Vice Chancellor is coming shortly. So I'd like to stop the presentation at this time to enable us reorganize the room for the closing ceremony. Thank you so much. Those who are involved in reorganizing the room, kindly please, let's start reorganizing the room for the closing ceremony. Thank you so much, Prof. Bye-bye.